make it so this whole town is like that. And come on, I think this is Simon that deal. I don't know who don't want this, but whoever it is, they need to pack their bags and leave town. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll pack my bag and move on, because
Well, thank you.
this is not an ADA accessible trail for buildings. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Daryl McCool and I live in Superior. This is not an ADA trail for the park. This is an ADA trail through the park. This is a trail that will go absolutely through and behind the buildings. If we want to access Grasso Park in a reasonable way, then we need an ADA trail that allows you to access those buildings in a different way, and it needs to be part of the community process, not neighbor against neighbor, not this lack of transparency with this project. Every single project that we've had in this town has had community input. This is not community input when we are forcing our neighbors to be against our neighbors, discussing this plan that we have not ever seen. I was doing some research, and in the park master plan from 2021, it recommends a site-specific master plan in conjunction with historical amenities in Grasso Park. Has that been done? I think that we need to look at that and have that be done before we run a trail through the park without considering these buildings and what this historic park means to us. They are the few buildings that survived the fire. And it's really, really important that we continue to preserve these.
Can I say one more thing?
Let's go around the room, let everybody get a first chance. Say,
So, hello everyone, thank you for having public. I'm Greg Horowitz, candidate for Superior Trustee 2024 on the ballot this year. I just wanted to voice my support of the bridge, proposed and approved bridge that's going in. For me, it's a couple things. I understand and can appreciate the historical nature of Grasso Park and the structures that are in it. But I do think the trail proposed to go parallel to that park behind it really is about inclusivity and then also safety. I live in Rogers Farm, Lee Cottages. I have a 3.5-year-old son that we utilize the underpass to get to downtown. And honestly, it's a safety issue. There's no connecting sidewalks to get south of the creek to underneath that and get out. So just voicing my support for it, for the approved project to move forward.
George Governor candidate, trustee 2024. With how this is going to be paid for, is pretty much a no-brainer. You have 2/3 of the different agencies can pay for this, and they're asking for a simple X amount of dollars. This is a no-brainer to finish up Rogers Farm into connecting to Old Town Superior. You'd rather have people walk across the bridge where cars go 25 to 35 miles an hour? You want to talk about public safety? There's your key example for public safety, is by putting in a pedestrian bridge. Understand it might go through a historical park, but who put that park there? Original town members did. I'm an original town member, and I put it there. That is a no-brainer to put that there. Where else are you going to put it? Question, where else would you put it? You guys have an answer?
I'll address that. But I'm not feeling about my part.
Absolutely.
I'd be delighted.
Absolutely.
Be delighted.
Other than that, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jim Grease. I am a resident in downtown Superior, lifelong resident of Boulder County, but it's only been in downtown Superior for about 8 years now. I'm here in favor of the trail and the bridge as proposed. I think that it is a unique opportunity to create a community between Rogers Farm, original town, and downtown, where we currently have barriers to crossing across the Castleton or getting from Rogers Farm over to where the town hall is and then underneath. And as Anthony brought up, that sidewalk under the bridge does have some safety concerns. I ride my bike over to the Target Plaza frequently for grocery market shopping, and even on a bike, there are times when I feel that that has been a very dangerous corner to go around because I don't always see the pedestrians. I also don't see bicycle riders. I think this can help connect that trail adjacent to the historical pieces within Grasso Park, which I think is a very important thing to maintain, and then creating that bridge that goes across to Rogers Farm. I support the measure, and I hope that there can be a way that these can coexist and we maintain the historical integrity of the park while giving the community a real building block towards creating a larger community on that side of town. Thank you.
This is I'm Al Bronstein from downtown Superior. I just also want to support the project or the bridge. My mother's 90 years old. And she comes over sometimes and just want to walk around to different parts of downtown Superior, and it's difficult for her to cross McCaslin. So, what's my support?
Good morning. My name is Jason Serlu. I'm a downtown resident, and I will soon be an old town resident, and I'm an architect. And I want to talk about historic preservation as it relates to this project. Does anybody in this room not know who anybody Wright is? Okay, everybody knows the greatest of all time, the greatest architect. His houses are currently still being lived in and occupied and used as homes that are on the National Register of Historic Places. And I know one of the arguments from some people is that you're worried that if this path goes too close to buildings, it's going to delete your ability to get the park or the houses on that. Nothing would be further from the truth. In fact, if I wanted to open up an ice cream stand in one of those buildings, as long as I didn't significantly alter the structure, I'd be allowed to do so. Frank Lloyd Wright homes are still utilized today. They're very, very coveted by people when they go on the market. People want them. They want to live in them and live in their houses. And they're still on the National Register, just as its commercial spaces and just as its office buildings are still to this day. One thing that's really being overlooked that this path provides for the historic structure of these buildings, if you think about the architectural style in which these were created, these buildings aren't just put on top of the ground like you would put a tuff shed. They actually do have a small foundation system. And when these buildings are this close to the creek, there's always the possibility of future erosion and subsurface compaction issues because the creek proximity is close. By putting a path between the creek and the buildings, you're actually putting a buttressing buffer, which is going to stabilize the soils for many, many years to come and make the maintenance and the costs of maintaining the structures in the future much, much cheaper. So it's almost a no-brainer just from a preservation standard that you can, help these buildings. But Grasso Park, when I talk about Grasso to people, they say, yeah, it looks like a neat park, but I haven't been there. Or I don't go there because I can't get around the park, or I have a parent or somebody that has a mobility issue. Putting this path where it is gives us ADA access. Now, you may be aware that the town of Superior has not done a very good job of creating ADA access for people with mobility issues. Boulder County right now is looking at a $1 million retrofit to all its public toilets because they were not ADA compliant. Somebody filed a complaint and the town had to rectify that. What's going to happen to our town when people start flagging us and saying this isn't compliant, I can't use this pathway, I can't use this area, this sidewalk isn't the right way? We're going to have to pay to fix it. We have to be ADA compliant, and right now we are so woefully under minimal ADA compliance in this town. This path will bring more people to the town and bring more people to the park. More people can actually see our living history and enjoy it. Because right now, people can't access the site as well as they can. This path gives them the ability to access Grasso Park. And also, what a few people have talked about, there is that terrible blind spot on that path coming out from underneath the bridge before we go back up. You can't see around the bend. People come down that path on a bicycle on a very high rate of speed. People are walking side by side, taking up the sidewalk. There's going to be an accident there eventually. E-bikes are making people go much, much faster, with much less realization of how fast the bicycle can go. This solves that problem. It solves the ADA issue. It creates connectivity between Greatland Mead, with Rogers Farm, and with the Bee Cottages and the houses south of Coal Creek. We need connectivity to downtown, and this gives us much, much better connectivity. Think about the ADA issues that are going to be solved by using this path. Senior citizens that have mobility issues are going to be using this path to enjoy the park as well. It's also going to give us a better ADA count, and I really believe this path is going to help the park much more than anybody can argue that it's going to hurt the park. Thank you.
Richard, can you make sure that you've signed your name to
Another path. Kind of explosion.
I asked the question, do we know what this bridge costs?
Can we get back to, George,
Public comment finish.
Oh, sorry.
First time.
I-
Is anybody else?
yes.
You know, I guess being a lifelong resident, the buildings are not, they're just, they're not abnormal to me, they're just a normal part of life here. And I think that people in a wheelchair would like to get and look at the buildings just like we can walking to them. And if we have to, I'll find an attorney to get an ADA first to straighten this out. Because it's not right that people that are stuck in wheelchairs or that are handicapped cannot go where we go. I mean, it's ridiculous. Let's get ADA compliant with it. Thank you.
Anyone else? In public comment? Mary, did you get everybody to sign?
I don't know. I think it's still on.
Oh, okay, okay.
Earl, you have something finish saying?
Okay,
No, I just asked the question about the bridge cost, because I'm just curious about that and the transparency of that.
And we can, since I moved that agenda item up, we can cover that when we go through the update. We can pull out the drawings.
okay, I think we're finished with public comment. Thank you very much, all of you, for your input. And we will now go down to E1, First Avenue Pedestrian Bridge and Coal Creek Trail.
So I asked
And this is under staff updates.
Thank you. I asked JD to pull up the link on the project page. Oh, sorry. Leslie Clark, I'm Parks Recreation Open Space Director. And I'm here with Brandon Richards from the Public Works Department to talk on this topic, to introduce it. And this is a link that's on the Public Works project page. And if you go down, I think, to the third page, there's a decent graphic. These are construction drawings, so you can zoom out just a tick. Make it hit the little, there you go. There we go. This is just a diagram showing Coal Creek. This is Grassville Park here. You can see the bungalow here, and you can sort of see the outlines of the buildings here, and the equipment that's in Grassville Park. This is the planned location for the bridge, and this is being proposed through a partnership with Mile High Flood District. So as part of the bridge going in, they are doing some bank stabilization along here to help with any future potential flooding. So it's basically flood mitigation that they're working on. This project, I don't know, it's been on the books for a long time, but it has changed over. So my understanding is it had been talked about in several locations along Coal Creek, including a low water crossing closer to the McCaslin Bridge. But I also think we looked at some areas closer to the 2nd Street Bridge along here. And Brandon might be able to talk a little bit more about the engineering studies and the studies that they do of the creek that kind of had them settle on this particular location. the OSAC committee has been kind of proposing and supporting some type of connection from the Coal Creek Regional Trail, which right now dead ends, right at Grassville Park, some kind of a connector to get folks over to the Boulder County open space. So that was their major focus, was just some kind of connection. They didn't look real specifically at the location necessarily. What else can I tell you? This was the proposed pathway, I think, that most folks are talking about that will provide ADA access. So the trail coming from Rogers Farm across the bridge and up First Avenue here to Williams is all ADA accessible. This piece, getting down to the underpass, is kind of our challenge because there's a very steep grade there. Right now, it's a ramp that doesn't meet ADA accessibility. When the engineers looked at this was their proposal to get people from the bridge to the tunnel on an accessible route. It was the least impact that we could have to the park because of the steep slope. It does come fairly close to this structure, I think within 5 feet, and maybe pretty close here. I think that's a piece of equipment there. Is that correct? I think it is one of the equipment, but we weren't proposing any movement of structures or any impact to the structures at this time. And I don't know, Brandon, do you want to provide any additional background that you might have?
Sure, I can chime in. So this project initiated in 2021, the Mile High Flood District. When I joined the town in 2022, it had been determined that the low water crossing had been abandoned at that point, and this bridge crossing was the path forward. I did speak to the design team of Mile High Flood District to get more information to understand why, and Wesley touched on a lot of that, but some of the biggest drivers were ADA accessibility. So with the low water crossing and the steep grades around Coal Creek, they could not get it ADA compliant. So for ADA compliance, what that means is the maximum longitudinal grade you can have is 5%. Anything above that is not safe for wheelchairs or folks with mobility issues. The existing trail up to William Street is a little bit over 8%. And the only way to get it less than 5 was to do what's the terminology? The zigzag down.
Yeah.
Switchbacks. Yeah, thanks. And that, there wasn't really room to do that. The other challenges with the low water crossing was due to the grades in the area. They're going to put handrails up. The creek through downtown was completely redone, and those low water crossings don't have the same fall that this low water crossing would have had. So the engineers modeled the floodplain impacts if they put in handrails, and it significantly changed the 100-year floodplain because the handrails serve as obstruction. So that would have caused some flood impacts to actual properties. The design team also wanted to minimize environmental impacts. When the Marshall Fire came through, it did destroy a lot of trees in the creek area, and the bridge location, I think, is actually impacting no existing trees, maybe one. Any bridge crossing east of here would have had a significant impact on trees. The other challenge is wetland impacts. There are wetlands on the south side of the creek toward Rogers Farm. There are no wetlands being impacted with the proposed design. And then the last thing the engineers said about the advantages of this location is it is the best for connectivity purposes. So for trail users, they can easily go to original town, they can easily go to downtown, and it gives them an option there to go both ways versus any other alternative path. We have engaged the design team about possibly eliminating this section, depending on public feedback, board feedback. Their concerns were really twofold at this point. If you just eliminate that connection between the bridge and the existing path, the one that parallels Grass Park, their concerns were ADA compliance, as we've talked about extensively. Their other concern was some with bike safety, just having bikes go straight to William and then behind parked cars does create some safety challenges. I know bikes go that way now, but backing out cars can be problematic for bikes. Yeah, I think that's the big things that they brought up.
Cost of the bridge?
The project itself, so Mile High Flood District is leading the project and is working with the contractor. The town has a cost share with the project. The construction cost for the entire project is $782,000. That includes everything you see here, also the stream improvements and paving First Avenue as part of this project. The bridge itself, can't pull up the estimate because can't remote in, but it's about $240,000. I think the engineer back in 2022, when the decision was made to rain the low water crossing, estimated the bridge conservatively would have been about $150K more than a low water crossing.
Leslie, you mentioned OSAC support. They decide, can you share? Yeah, you know,
Yes,
what they decided, because
I will.
Last 2 minutes.
I actually had that pulled up. So the OSAC committee, had the same update at their last meeting, and I will read their notes. During the September 11th OSAC meeting, members voted to make a recommendation to Superior Town Board to have the Mile High Flood District modify its current design projection for the First Avenue pedestrian bridge such that it avoids Grasso Park and does not encroach upon historical town buildings, which are designated as State of Colorado historical structures. So that was at the OSAC meeting on the 11th. The park committee met on Wednesday of this week. I don't believe they have their notes published yet, but
They made aware of OSAC's concern. They're OSAC recommended.
they were aware of that. I don't think they spoke about it at the meeting at all.
They get it from it wasn't mentioned in the report. That was why I'm asking. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was not. It was not in their notes, but I believe that was public knowledge, so.
You know, unfortunately, none of us was available that night to be there, or we would have been there in mass, believe me.
Mhm.
We've got 2 of our members out of the country right now.
We're moving forward to additional questions for Leslie or. I have additional questions. How about I put it that way?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay, anyone else?
So my understanding is the trail component of this was a later addition to a flood control project. Is that correct? Or was it always one package?
The trail along Coal Creek.
No, the original. You mean
The original project was
the original
simply flood
project,
control and the trail was.
Well, that was the project that went through the public process early on a little bit. What was that project? Or do you know?
I don't,
So my related question to that is whether the trail's here or not, is the flood control still plan to modify the banks through there, whether there's a trail on top of it or not?
Yeah, so the flood control is being taken into account. We're actually doing a CLOMR, which is a letter of map revision to the floodplain as part of the project. So there are some minimal changes to the floodplain, but nothing that's affecting private property. Those improvements are still being completed as part of the budget.
And when this project changed, can you guys share what the public process was to communicate this? I'm calling it a substantial change from the low water crossing. What happened? We've been researching the heck out of this. I can't find any public process about this change. Can we?
I think the only things that I'm aware of is, when the decision was made to go with a bridge versus a low water crossing. Is that kind of your question?
Well, the whole change from a low water crossing to a trail through Grasso Park to a bridge at Second Avenue. Yeah. It's a big project change, right?
Yeah, I think there was.
We know the trail on the south side.
Mhm.
That was approved and executed, the trail down the south side. Their low water crossing would have, and the trail would be nowhere now, right? It should be annexed. And the low water crossing was, I believe, to connect there. And then there was a change related to that Mile High Flood District came forward with, and 21, 22. And trying to understand the engagement that was provided to the committees and to the public about that change.
The only public engagement that I'm aware of is that OSAC received an update, and Park did. Wasn't necessarily for their feedback, but it was an staff update that we were moving from a low water crossing to a bridge, but there wasn't a lot of, they didn't have input on the design.
And why not?
There wasn't a discussion about it. I don't think in the meetings that we reviewed from then when that was, and I don't think there were any discussions happened. It wasn't brought up.
There was updates provided by staff.
Could be something written in a, or it wasn't a verbal update. I think it was a verbal update.
Yeah, I have meeting agendas that have it on the agenda, but again, we weren't looking for them to approve the design. We were giving them information that because of ADA, it needed to be moved from a low water crossing to a bridge.
So we made no public deal about this change, but
No, it did go to Planning Commission, with this final design, I believe.
no, we couldn't find that either. So, okay.
Well, back to what I'm trying to get at is, with the trail here or not, is there still re-engineering of the stream bank plan there for flood control, whether it's a trail there or not?
Yeah, so the stream bank the stream bank restorations happen from Second Avenue West, Second Avenue East. There will be stream bank modifications where the bridge is going in, and they did evaluate the stream bank throughout the project. So improvements are being made to help with flood control.
And the plan would be to still make modifications along here, whether the trail stays here or not, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There was another resident question. Does this trail satisfy ADA requirement access to the buildings and the components of the park?
It would get them closer to the buildings. The buildings themselves may not be accessible because I think some of them have a step or a stoop. And of course, the existing framework doesn't necessarily allow for access width.
And the main entrance to the park primarily is from the bungalow, but currently, I guess.
I would say either from First Avenue or Williams.
Does do anything to provide ADA compliance down to the buildings from either of those places? To the buildings and the
It would
components?
theoretically, this is all ADA compliant. So you could park or access this sidewalk or trail, whatever you want to call it, here to get down here with that.
And is that now going in with this project? That's new to me, that the First Avenue trail or road, it's a road right now.
It's a sidewalk right now, sort of. This would be an improvement to that sidewalk.
So those have been, I mean, I know we talked about those improvements as an alternate, but those improvements been added to the current project, or were they always there? Or have they just been added recently to that?
I don't know when they were added, but they're in there now. Probably when they determined where the bridge was going to cross.
Is there not a way to go down First Avenue and then turn right on Williams and get to that trail, construct some kind of a connection up off of East Williams there? Yeah.
From like here
Yeah.
to down here.
I mean, can't something be built there? Maybe I misunderstood, but I thought somebody told me there's steps going up there. And my question is, how are steps ADA compliant?
They're not.
So there's no, the engineer said there's no way to make that connection ADA compliant. The grade is simply too steep and it's too close to the creek and to William Street. So there's not even room to put in switchbacks, which could get the grades down. The only way to make it ADA compliant is to put in the pad as shown with the engineer's evaluation. The steps were being proposed to help improve safety. If you add this additional pad, you don't want bikes coming both directions at high rates of speed. So pedestrians could still go down, but it's not ADA compliant. It's not ADA compliant today, and it wouldn't be ADA compliant in the future, that short path between William and the path. The ADA compliance is achieved from the path that parallels the creek. And I do understand the historical concerns. I understand both sides. And public outreach, I wasn't here when the decision was made about to change the plan. I do know that since then, the Daily Campers picked up the project. We did include it in our last newsletter, and it's going out in the Hello Superior. And we've notified via mailers the 6 residents that are near First Avenue that border this. And we got a project sign up. Public feedback to staff has been pretty minimal. I would say half a dozen. 4 really liking it, 2 opposed. And I think the committees have been put in difficult spots. I mean, I think OSAC voted against it, but there was a lot of folks that expressed concerns. I think Park voted 7-0 for it, and there was a lot of people that spoke in favor of it. So I understand why both those committees made the decisions they made based on the feedback they received.
Yeah, and the
This
OSAC,
feedback was solicited post approval of the expenditures and actually the acquisition and receipt of the bridge. Is that accurate? This feedback that we're all getting? It was a rhetorical question, but I'd like it answered. That all this feedback that's being requested and
this most
discussion
recent
about it
feedback
for the
is,
last 2 months is all post project approved. And it's bridge
I don't know where the project approval is, but it was,
purchased and received. Correct? Is this all accurate? Okay. I just want this in public record, right?
Sure.
This is not feedback we got 3 months ago,
no, it was in
or
response
not,
to
3 years.
public comment that the town received. And just to clarify, OSAC is in favor of the bridge and the access to Williams along First.
Absolutely.
This is the piece that they wanted modified. Yep.
Well, from my standpoint, for affecting historic integrity, if you're going to be doing construction work, regardless of whether there's a path left on top of it or not, the effective historic integrity is the same either way. And it's not really an issue of the path, it's an issue of the construction and proximity to the buildings and protecting the buildings there. And if the plan is to move the path, but still do the mitigation there, you may as well leave the path on top of it. It's, I mean, it is better to have greater ADA accessible historic buildings, and you should not be exclusive of access like that, in my opinion. If the work's going to happen there anyway, there would be other protections we probably want to consider for those buildings having a path back there. But if the construction work's going to happen back there, regardless of where there's a path, in my opinion, may as well still have the path.
So you mean the construction work on,
The flood control.
okay,
I mean, this was a flood control project to begin with.
Yeah.
And they added a path to it.
so, yeah, along the Coal Creek itself, you know, yeah.
Okay, is any other comments here, questions?
I have some things to say, but I want to let the historic commission continue. If they have anything else, I guess.
Anything from historic?
So, okay, let me know if that's when it's okay to do.
I think what's really hit us like a wet fish in the face or something is the fact that we only learned about it about 2.5 weeks ago. It was just totally thrown in. We only learned about it accidentally. And I think there'd be a lot less concern on our part if we'd have been brought into this and the reasons explained like a lot of you gentlemen have done, and been made to feel we were part of the project instead of just, this is the way it is, kids, tough luck.
I also think it's a misconception that the commission is against the trail. or a bridge. If you were wondering where the alternatives were and what the alternatives being considered were, including going around, which I'm appreciative of the information provided today, but it's very, so it's pretty late in the process for us.
Agreed. I think one of my concerns is, is we have a trail in there. Are we going to end up with graffiti all over the side of these buildings? And once that happens, that's pretty much going to destroy the integrity of the buildings, as far as historical value. So, the reason I'm sort of concerned about that is because you go over into the mine the old mine over there, the old fan housing has been graffitied, the bridge has been graffitied, and so to think that was people, and I'm not accusing any group of people, but sooner or later, those buildings, when you're going right by them, are going to have graffiti all over.
Added access, we are going to need added protections there as well.
Right.
Yeah, my major concern is we will lose our state designation. We are on the Colorado Registry of Historic Properties right now, that park is. And we have a site visit planned from Colorado, History Colorado, and also Historic Boulder for early October to look into the potential of that park going on the National Register of Historic Properties. If it loses its Colorado designation, it has no chance of going on the national, because the Colorado has to come first, and then the national is next.
I agree with Jason. I don't believe that's going to be a factor here.
Pardon?
I don't believe that will be a factor here. You know, as Jason said, that won't affect the integrity of the park and not having that trail back there. If anything, ADA compliance projects are pretty common with historic sites, and this doesn't look out of, in my professional opinion.
I'm only going about what Lindsay Llewellyn is telling me. Lindsay used to be on our commission here.
Yeah.
She is now working for History Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I think the letter she sent.
Yeah, she has indicated we will lose our historic designation. And this is one of the last remaining historic pieces in the city of Superior. It's one of the last, and it's a miracle that it survived the fire. Anyone else? I think we need to move on.
May I just, so, because I do want to public comment.
Yeah.
I think Mary probably said this best. And it sort of covers the entire issue here, is that this project changed dramatically without public process. And lots of people are just finding out about it in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And for people to come forward and minimize the concerns of those that are passionate about this historic space, who don't want an ice cream shop in there, right? To minimize those people is hurtful. And nobody's trying to hurt anybody. ADA compliant, helping downtown traverse through. I promise you that's. Want to hear that? I want to listen to it. I want to understand it. What I don't like, and George, you of all people finding out things at the last minute, right? That sucks, right? You find out about something you care about. I know we have differences in what we care about, right? We do, right? We all have differences in what we care about. There are people who care deeply about this part in different ways than other people do. And why we're so upset is because this project is done. And anybody who cares about the side of protection of the park feels screwed, because the bridge has been purchased, the design has been put up on the screen. The design, by the way, is really hard to follow, which Leslie has indicated at the beginning of every time of this presentation, right? And that's a concern. And minimizing people's care about that is what's bothering me the most. I would have liked to have seen 2 years ago public engagement to talk through this. And we may have ended up in exactly this same place, but everybody would have understood and everybody would have gotten it. Instead, we're having contentious meetings, putting us at odds, which we already are in a number of areas. We don't need more. Right? And we're stuck. And I don't like this. I don't like trustees making comments like you made. I don't like trustees saying that only 2 people are in favor of this. Things that are in recordings at meetings, they are concerning me deeply. I try to stay pretty quiet, but I am not happy with how this process went. And I appreciate everything that every one of you said about ADA compliance, about getting across and from downtown into original town in a safe way. I would love to see access to that park be done in a meaningful way. I don't like how this happened. That's why I'm upset. That's what I think we have done horribly wrong. I don't know that anything's going to change after this meeting. I wanted to get that out of public. I will probably say it again at the board meeting. That's my concern. I appreciate everything all of you said and agree with just about, but I will leave it at that.
I think you just minimized everybody else
I guess.
in your loud voice.
Yes, I am bad about that. I apologize. I have that, I recognize I have that issue. Well, so I apologize for that. That's true. That is a problem I have, for certain.
I don't think Bob was minimizing the problem. I think he was minimizing the fact that the decision was made without our views.
He just said, that's why I said, he didn't agree with Jason and what we said. And then he said at the same time, and then he said he did appreciate it, but it was too late. He'd already said he didn't. And he's not happy that we spoke.
No, I'm very happy that you spoke. Did I miss something?
I think the committee probably needs to move on to their next agenda item. I think everybody's had a chance to talk for public comment. Yes?
On the stage. I've heard this.
You have to open up public comment again.
Okay, everybody had a chance to talk for 5 minutes.
I think he got 2.
Well, I finished this up. I'm okay. I'm just.
We had gone on past public comment. Are you wanting to open it up again?
I move that we reopen public comments so everyone can be heard out.
Okay,
Go ahead.
You can finish it.
okay.
Listen, I worked for a town off and on for 30 years about graffiti. And the old buildings, and it's wood, if you paint them, it's gonna soak in, yes, you're not going to get it out. But if it's gonna get graffiti, it's gonna get graffiti whether we put a trail by it or some little guys don't got nothing to do and they go down there and graffiti it. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I just learned last night, we spent $2.5 million a year with Boulder County Sheriffs. If we do this, we need more patrol on it. I mean, $2.5 million for the size of our town is quite a bit of money. We can pay attention to our prides and joys a lot better than we do, I feel. Because I've seen it all in this town. And you hate to mention it because you give somebody an idea to go graffiti it. But I understand it, but it's still got to be accessible to some poor person that's old. Like me, I'm getting old. I got 2 funny knees. I'll be in a chair soon. But what if I want to go back down there and reminisce as a kid? Oh, but I can't get there. And I got a boy that's got special needs that I can't get there. So I'm not just down here blowing smoke and causing trouble. I got a true feeling that when I was a kid, I was in every one of the buildings. I know more about them buildings than all you people. I knew John Grasso. I played with him. I was down there helping him scrap. That's how I got started helping him out in the scrap business. So this is more to me than, oh, you can look from up here on McCaslin or way back on there. That's not. It ought to be accessible to everybody. History's for everybody. They just for a few. So, I mean, historical, there's a lot of stuff, yeah, we did lose a lot of stuff in the park. But it all starts over one day at a time.
Could I say something again? Like I said before, I do understand and appreciate the historical value that this brings to the town and the culture in the town. Much like Jason, I'm not an architect, but I have worked in and around construction for the past 20 plus years. Being involved from very early schematic design through design development, through the construction process. Plans change all the time. I understand what you're saying, Bob, that maybe the people didn't have input at the time, but once you get engineers involved and they see the site and understand what the site and what needs to happen for the project to move forward, plans change. I don't know if at that point public process should have happened, but plans do change. And the engineers and all the experts felt that this was the best way to solve the problem. That with connectivity and ADA access and inclusivity, bringing everybody in the town to be able to travel throughout the town, throughout the paths. So, thank you.
Since we're opening up again, I would like to really recommend that we look at the park master plan and that site-specific master plan in conjunction with the historical amenities before we put any kind of trail. Are there better ways to access these buildings? Are there better ways to have ADA accessibility into this park, not through the park? And that was called out in the 2021 park master plan, that there should be a site-specific master plan for this park. And I think that hasn't happened, and I think it should happen before we do any kind of digging in this park.
Perhaps the town board or someone should put a moratorium on this whole and wait until we can get some of this stuff answered before we just all of a sudden they're down there digging.
Yes.
We're still in public comment. Brandon, could you answer, do we lose funding if we don't go forward with part of this project?
I don't know. I don't think so. We have engaged Mile High and the engineer, let them know that there's some concerns. The bridge has been ordered and delivered, so we have the bridge in hand. If we needed to change the design or open up to the public process, I think the risk is just increased construction costs, just based on timing and costs going up. I think that's the biggest challenge. I mean, I'd have to confirm to answer your question directly, but I don't know that there's a deadline the funding would go away. I don't know how long it would take to do a master plan. I think Leslie could better speak to, I mean, we're talking weeks or months or years.
Typically, a year to do that.
And the board approved this $240 bridge expenditure,
The board approved the original IGA with Mile High.
which was for mitigation only. It was,
It was sort of a water crossing, I believe, has always been.
okay.
I'd have to, I went here in 2021. I've read most of the documents. I thought the initial IGA referenced the low water crossing. That's what I've been told by the design team.
I don't believe that's true. And so I'm just curious that we have a almost $750,000 project that hasn't had board approval.
But I'd be curious just to understand, I understand from the historic preservation side, what would you propose?
I'm not here to design this. I think it should be community process. And I think, speaking to Bob's point, that is the problem and why we're sitting here. These folks on the Historical Commission learned 2 weeks ago about this project. Every project, every park, every trail has been through community process, and that isn't happening. We are literally having our neighbors pitted against neighbors here in this room, rather than having what has historically happened with parks is design projects and people being abreast of the situation. That's what I would do. I don't know. I don't know. And like somebody said, maybe it comes back around to this. But the community needs to be part of it. Mile High Flood District was leading this project. Nobody from town was.
How, with the proposed and approved trail that runs parallel to the creek and behind the park, how far does that park actually go back where it's designated the park that would be encroaching on it? Is it the whole trail?
Probably Leslie would be best to answer that.
I would have to look at records. I do know that Mile High Flood District has jurisdictions for that 20-foot on center for the creek, is that correct?
Correct. So 20 foot out from the center of the creek towards Grasso.
Don't quote me, but one, I don't know to describe the video, but I stepped out in the corner of that closest building down the edge of the creek, say 15, 16 feet. It was five or so steps. So don't quote me exactly, but you know, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think the 20 foot is 20 foot on center. Is that correct,
From the center of
Brandon?
the creek.
Yeah.
Of the surface.
But yeah, and this was to the embankment, and like where it would, drop down, where the embankment drops off, was on that street. That's where
So does the trail encroach onto or is that the Mile High Flood District?
So I think Mount Flood District has access, it's not their property per se, but it gives them access and abilities to mitigate that area and work in that area. It's still all Progressive Park and town property for ownership, and it gives kind of easement.
Did they do any type of study, saying if these floods happen or continue, this park is gonna erode into the creek anyways?
The best thing to look at would be the floodplains, which we have, and I can see what buildings, I can pull that up over top to see what buildings are actually under your floodplain or floodway.
And you can speak to the 2013 flood.
I wasn't here.
And he wants to speak to the 2013 flood.
I wasn't here.
But I think climate change is happening, floods are getting more intense, it's a crisis, so this mitigates, again, that's just my supporting.
And that's an important thing to know, right? If that's, yeah, and I heard that earlier, that this is creating stabilization in places. But I'd like to know that, right? I'd like the process to bring that up, not, just want to find, it's not like being back.
Is Mile High using federal funds? Is there federal review involved in this for the?
No, so it is going, it's following all the permit process. So FEMA is reviewing the project just because any kind of working in a flood, there's got to get that permit approved. So FEMA.
So this is under FEMA review, so there should have been a section 106 review on the National Historic Preservation Act. I would be interested in seeing how they applied. FEMA's complying with section 106 and how they reviewed this. So if we could find that information advisable.
Not heard section 106 come up in the reviews. So you'll get in.
It's electric property and
No, I'm just saying, I can't say, I can't speak to it. We've got 2 rounds of review comments from FEMA, and that hasn't been addressed in the comments.
It may come down to the level of FEMA involvement, but I'd be interested if they're providing oversight, if they're involved, what the level of compliance with the National Historic Preservation Act is.
Well, I feel we've spent a lot of time on this, in this particular issue, and that's okay, we should. But I think we have a lot left to do on the agenda, and I think we need to move on.
Yes. Thank all of you for your comments. We appreciate it. But it's only a piece of our meeting, yes.
Just lastly, I don't think I'm looking at this as pitting neighbor against neighbor. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have conversations where different people have different viewpoints. And I always respect people that have a different viewpoint than I do. The issue that I'm having with this is that we're trying to find the best path forward with Russell Park. And my profession is architecture. I'm an architect, and architects are historians because everything we learned about architectural history goes back to Vitruvius, goes back to Claudio, goes back to figures you've never heard about that influence modern architecture today, all the way to Le Corbusier, to Frank Lloyd Wright. Probably not me, but whomever's going to come after me is going to be the next, architect. I'm very, very sensitive to the historic preservation of this park because I myself have done historic preservation in New York City, in Western New York, in Fort Collins, in Denver, where I had to be on site with the contractor, taking the building apart by hand, not to disturb things, just so I could understand how the structural system is there. So when I design the preservation means, I am following what was done 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Especially nails are sometimes created because they don't want to use new construction techniques. I'm very, very sensitive. I really do believe that this path will create a good buffer and a buttressing effect to the foundation systems of Grasso Park. And it's going to be the strongest thing going forward. And if it gives us ADA access at the same time, fantastic. It's great for the seniors. It's great for mobility impaired people. And we get it all done in one fell swoop. So that's all I have to say. I really appreciate everybody on your time. I appreciate everybody's viewpoint you said on this. You guys do a fantastic job for the town. Thank you for caring about Russell Park and the historic preservation of our town. Can I address I pulled up the floodplain map, I just type it real quick. We pull the plan and the apologies. So all of these buildings here are in the 100-year floodplain and floodway. So the floodway means more, I don't know the technical definition, but basically during a high creek, the creek takes over that land during a flood. And this is modeled. This isn't actual 2013 flood. This is modeled. So FEMA, all these buildings are in the 100-year floodplain. With the project, the 100-year floodplain is shrinking slightly. I mean, when I say slightly, it currently goes like this and it will now go like this. So it will slightly reduce the 100-year floodplain in the area, but all these buildings from here to the east, not these up high, but just along the creek, are in the floodplain and floodway currently, and after the project, the floodplain shrinks slightly, but doesn't remove them from the floodplain or the floodway.
But it does impact the properties over here, right?
The floodplain. This project changes the floodplain floodway slightly, like a line moves 2 feet this way, a foot that way. It doesn't add any additional, no structures. It only helps structures. It doesn't put any additional structures in the floodplain. This project slightly minimizes the floodplain throughout original town overall. To Scott's point earlier.
Phillips, yes.
Okay, I think we need to make a recommendation of where we go from here because we have to get back to our meeting agenda here. So does somebody have a proposal here for where we go from here and what's our recommendation for the next step? We can have communication among all of us.
Historic. For the commission. It would be good
A
for
recommendation to the town.
for the historic commission to make a recommendation to the town after all of this discussion. So that would just include the historic members in the room and the one we have online.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I think Larry Dorsey had a letter that was very good. And we need to maybe make everyone aware of that letter. Okay. So the historical, yes, you have that.
I sent to the town board.
So the historical commission then will make a recommendation to the board and that'll be our next step.
Okay, I think we need to move on.
I think
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think
We're going
we're
to move on to the correspondence.
I think Leslie was looking for a recommendation today,
And you don't have to do it today.
but you could.
You could do it at your next meeting, but it's just a recommendation to the town board that the committee votes on.
Okay. Are you saying you want to make a recommendation today or?
You could.
Up to you.
Park has made a recommendation, OSAC has made a recommendation.
What's the timing and the need of that recommendation?
I don't know that there's a common, I mean, I don't want to pressure you or rush you guys to do it, but it just makes it official.
I can make a recommendation, but I don't know how everyone else feels. My recommendation is that they look for an alternative way to comply, to make it, and my recommendation would be I don't think we have a problem with the bridge, but my recommendation is to go north on First Avenue and east on East William and connect somehow, make some kind of a connection over there that's ADA compliant and stay away from the creek. That would be my recommendation, but I'm not sure about everybody else here.
So the question, I guess, would be, would historical like to make a recommendation to the board today, or would you like to postpone that conversation and recommendation to next month?
I think we'd like to have time to get the wording properly. It's done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we maybe need to wait,
And
because we're getting input from History Colorado very soon. I had a conversation with somebody right before the meeting, and also from Historic Boulder.
And that might be good with your chair and your vice chair not in attendance today. That might be
I
good.
think Larry and Dalton would like to be here for that. So
Is there a,
let's move the recommendation to a time when we can all get together. It might not even be in the next meeting. It might be before that. I think it needs to be before that.
is there a scheduled meeting with History Colorado, or maybe we could, I was thinking we could bring the design team in and meet inside, because I think it is important to understand if it would lose any
We're
historic
going to be a community meeting.
recognitions. And to Bob's point, I mean, earlier, I agree with him. I can't speak to the public process. I agree. It should have been a better process throughout. He's right, the bridge hasn't been ordered, but we've talked about how, we talked to the engineer. What we're waiting on to start construction is a formal approval from FEMA, which we think we're really close to, but that doesn't mean the project has to start October 1. If there's a meeting that needs to be had with History Colorado on site to make sure there's no loss of that recognition, I think that's important. We can have a design team there and explain the project and look at everything. I'm sure it's a more formal process, but we'll at least get their take. So that's what I was bringing up. Oh, sorry, bringing up a little bit.
Bob, what's the timing of this, any upcoming board meeting? Would any of these recommendations would be discussed at a board meeting?
They're going to be included probably in minutes, as part of there's not an agenda item specifically for this currently, and
He's talking
we received,
Monday, right?
yeah, we received the minutes for each committee, packet for approval. I'm not sure if they will be ready and prepared and in for Monday to either any of you. No, Lydia would probably be the one to know whether the OSAC part, whether this committee minutes would even get in there. I don't know yet. So
This
I think,
committee,
they will.
not this one though.
Not this one, but I think OSAC, yes, definitely.
last night.
ARC was last night. Just depends how they turn them around.
Yeah, Larry is not going to be back until the 29th, I don't believe, 29th of September. And I'm not sure about Dalton. He may be back this
I
weekend.
think he's back this weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are two very important voices.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think we should move on.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Nope. Okay.
JG, can you, if Dalton, and this is sort of obvious, but just to say the obvious, if Dalton and Larry are both missing, want to participate in a motion, they should probably watch the meeting, right? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, luckily the video will be available probably sooner than the notes will be, because technically we have a week for the notes, but usually the video goes in prior to that. So that will be good.
I'm sure we're going to speak to an issue or a motion.
And just as staff, I think the only thing I mentioned to Leslie is I think it's clear that a community meeting is needed, because an hour and 10 minutes of this meeting was utilized for this topic.
And today's the first I'd ever heard about the whole ADA part of it at all.
Yeah, that all showed up, same for me, that all showed up in the park meeting last night, which I was up at 4:30 this morning, listening and watching and trying to hear what was being said. And they're all great. I mean, they're all great points. Yeah, worth hearing. That's just so late in the game.
Yeah. So you need to get moving on.
Yeah.
Guys,
Mary has, Mary.
how much of this should I put in minutes? It's something I can't really say. A discussion was held. Do I put people's names?
It's recorded, so there's so much.
That's tough because it was so long.
Yeah.
That's a great question,
They
Mary.
stood up, they didn't say I'm such.
I think maybe a synopsis.
Okay. Without names
I
and.
think we should list names. And then just potentially have a synopsis of,
Okay.
because that was a lot.
Yeah, you can't put all that in all.
I did not intend to open up the public discussion beyond what George had.
Yeah, but if trying to stay neutral as staff, I do think it's clear that a community meeting needs to happen, because that's sort of what this turned into.
Okay.
And I think Yes, I think you all need to decide what items could be tabled off of this agenda today.
The debriefing that Larry usually does.
A lot of these are pretty short if we
Okay.
just get going.
Let's go.
Yeah. The next thing on the item was Mary, correspondence.
Okay, several thank you notes. Susan Donaldson for the kitchen utensils, Elizabeth Lysack for the items from Boulder, Katie Lewis, a double one for the museum curator at Heritage Lakewood for hosting Fram, and she gave us the sheet music, the piano sheet music, two each from each decade, from the 1890s to the 1940s. Sheila Fisher for the Red Wagon and Black Rocker, and the presenter at the Fram meeting, which was amazing about diversity and inclusion. And then you all will be helping sign for Cheryl and Valentina for a sympathy card for Tennis Long Days. And the wedding, congratulations. That's not on there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda was Marshall Fire Memorial. Oh,
I'll just speak to that very quickly. The Marshall Fire Memorial Subcommittee has an active survey that's still on Shape Superior. It closes on the 30th, and they'll be meeting to go through that data. That's it.
okay, thank you. Okay, collection items and situated exhibits at Asti Museum.
I just added that because I know that y'all are kind of starting to work in the museum a little bit, and I just think the rest of the committee needs to be aware that, there's little comings and goings, and I'll do more in the staff report. We've had staff go in to set things up, assemble things of that nature. I just wanted to let you all speak to the point that you're starting to assemble and situate things.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Mary, Wally, and I met and moved just a few small items out of Grasso into Asti. We did some cleaning on the floor in the Asti Museum, and then moved just a few small items and also wrapped up some of the fragile items that were in Grasso Park Museum.
Okay, great.
Okay, the RFI log.
That's normally a Maureen update. Paul, I don't know if you know anything, or did she have you want to say anything, or can we table that for next meeting?
Let me check with her. Hang on a sec.
Are you okay if I just talk about donor really quick, Paul, while you message her?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that Jean let us know that she's out of town. Jean from the Lions Club is out of town. She's not here today. She had no updates for us or questions. She just wanted to know the status of the bench for Asti Park. And I let her know that it's still in fabrication because it's bundled with a handful of other benches. So it's taking a while. I think Mary kind of hit on the recent donations due to the correspondence point that she just made. So I think we can check that item off the list.
Yeah, and I have a list. I'm trying to keep track of all these donations, and I think there's a few that are falling through the cracks. So I'm going to compare with Mary and Larry and make sure we have a master list of all these donations. Okay. Okay, then September 7th, Museum Open Day. Wally and I were there in the afternoon, and it was fairly quiet, except for the man that came in, the man that donated the desk. I keep forgetting his name.
Jason.
Yes, he came in for just a minute to look at, so what was he doing? I can't remember what he wanted. He was in for just a couple minutes, and that's the only visitor we had in the afternoon. But you had somebody in the morning.
Yeah, we had two, and then Trustee Hammerly stopped by in the parking lot but didn't come in. And
I forgot to make you a visitor log.
Well, we have.
I got you a clicker.
We got her. The visitor log, but
we have
we'll sign in.
Oh, I was going to make a a different log so that we're tracking actual numbers every time. I know the guest book, not everybody signs, and I apologize for not getting them. I know, so, yeah.
But we have good.
Yeah, one other thing, we sold one book and we got some donations. I think we had a book and then we had $25 in donations. So I think I have $45 to give you and I have it with me today.
Okay.
Yeah, the book may have been a repeat visitor because the woman in the morning said she's going to come back and buy a book.
Right.
Yeah, good shit.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
One less visitor.
Yes.
No, she visited twice. Look at the counter twice.
Okay, Larry usually goes to.
I think Paul has an update.
Yeah, let me she's fine with tabling RFI. She says she'll write a group email to summarize the fall program. That way Larry and Dalton will know.
Oh, okay. So when we get to that agenda item, we can pass because she's going to send an email update?
Yeah. Then,
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Okay, Heritage Roundtable, Larry usually goes to. I don't know if anybody went to that. I don't think so. Okay, no one went to Heritage Roundtable. Mary went to the NFRAM meeting this week.
Yes,
Last
it's diversity and how to get your, the stress was that the presenter is the curator at Portmont Historic Park. And she said, you know, they've had to change their wordings to be more inclusive instead of holding up and saying, aren't these white pioneers wonderful? To remember to say, hey, these white pioneers came in and sort of pushed out other people who were wonderful as well. And, you know, they have to rethink that bit of most of our history museums, but also how to increase the interest of other people. So as she kept saying, people that look like me, you know, the white people. So that people from other nationalities and heritages can come in and feel free and feel that it's part of their life somehow too. So this is really interesting. And the next meeting will be in November, and it'll be at the Museum of the Americas, is that what they call it, on South Santa Fe.
I think we have that down under D1. Okay.
Okay, next.
Okay, under discussion, budget and potential spending for Asti Museum.
Just, you know, it's a very quick conversation for you all to discuss and or vote to approve for just upcoming expenses related to some of the move and setup. In my staff updates a little further down, you know, I'll share what the town is paying for.
Okay.
You know, because we're paying for things, but I think you all need to decide about, do you want a mover to move some of the bigger objects from the bungalow to Asti? And if you even want that giant display case moved, if we get a mover, that could, you've all like thought about leaving it behind because it's so big, but if we hire a professional mover, it could go over to Asti if you want it.
The question is, do we have room for it in it?
Correct. But either way, do you want a mover or do you want me to piecemeal it out through our parks team, for no cost, those kinds of things. Curtains, rugs, a mattress for the bed, a contractor to build a base for the sink and get it installed, you know, that there's a cost there. So I guess I don't want to encourage a blanket approval, but at the same time, there needs to be some spending for things to move forward with this move.
Is our sink one of a style that had a base to it?
I think it was originally, because of the plumbing, it probably was installed to the wall and probably had support legs, or it had a cabinet underneath it, none of which came with the sink. So right now it's sitting on the floor.
actually have cabinets too.
Yeah.
The picture that you sent out to us with the legs, I like that.
Yeah.
I think we all,
That's one I saw at Lakewood Heritage.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That's more appropriate.
yeah.
And the contract, the handyman who built the ramp in the bungalow is very excited about the prospect of helping build a base for this sink. His grandmother had a very similar sink and he just loves the idea of being able to help. But of course, there's a cost with his services. So I just wanted to see where you are with that. I don't want to proceed with any spending without your permission.
Okay, you want us to vote on each item here? We can.
Either that or you could do a blanket. I don't know, because
all the things you have on there, I think we want to do. As far as the mover, I don't know whether you want I don't know if the town people can actually do piecemeal. I mean, do they have time to do that? And do they have?
Yes and
Some
no.
of those things are going to be
delicate.
Yeah, and heavy.
And heavy.
The icebox is pretty heavy, I think.
Yeah, so.
Suggest that we get a mover in.
Okay.
And just because they can handle it and we don't have to worry about some of the delicate stuff getting broken.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing probably the sooner we can start doing this, the better, and get it set up, because there's gonna be a lot of work to get it set up.
And it could be.
We want to get it done before cold weather.
Yes.
And my question to you
Maybe
is,
before you leave on your trip.
well, I can probably set it up. I don't know if I can have it, like if it can get executed before I leave. But if I get it set up, I could see if a staff member could assist, or let's see if one of you could just be on site.
We definitely want to be on, we
Just
definitely
a
want to
point
be on site anyway.
Because I'm sure it would be the same movers, those.
Yeah, they were great.
They are, and really all they need is access and somebody just to direct them.
Yes.
And then get to the other site and do the same, open the doors and direct them.
We can do that.
Okay, so if I can get it set up, I can relay the information to you and then have you all pick that up. Okay, that sounds good. But according to agenda for mover, curtains, the contractor, things like that, I don't have an approximate budget, but we do have a budget report. You have a balance, you've got reserve donations, you've got, I don't know if we should have you vote on a certain budget for me to stay in, or if I should proceed and just keep you updated.
Which we proceed and keep us updated. I mean, if you see we're going to run out of money, then you can let us know.
But we have 3,000 of this year's 5,000.
Yes, and you have 600, probably 650 in donations because of the money Karen has.
Yes.
And then you have 2,000 in reserve.
Do we need a vote on that?
I think you do need to vote just to give me permission to spend money.
Okay, does somebody want to put that in the form of a motion?
I'm trying to, Mary, do you know how to word that?
I think, a question, how much was their big moving of things out of storage in, just to get an idea?
It's roughly, if I remember, it was like 450-ish.
And the smoke was like that kind of thing, and that was
roughly
coming a long ways. So.
Yeah, I would guess kind of maybe on the very, very, very high end would be $500 to $600 for the move.
Yeah.
And then maybe another 1,000 just to cover. I'm just ballparking here some of these other items, and then if I get to that level, I can stop and wait.
Some 1,500-ish.
I was thinking 2,000.
Okay.
For all these three items.
Yes, and we would need to get Maureen's vote on this, so I'm hoping Paul can hear us and.
I'm working on it.
Okay, so while he works on that,
I'll make the motion.
Okay, and then.
We authorize JG or her substitute up to $2,000 to cover these three items mentioned in the agenda.
Which are?
which are, the mover for the large artifacts into ASTI, to provide curtains, rugs, and a mattress, for the bed at ASTI, and a contractor to put a frame under the sink, which is already.
Okay, does curtains also include the shades? We need the window shades.
Separate.
And, can we include?
I think we need to add the shades.
The window.
No?
I'll tell you why.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's mine. I have so moved.
Okay, and so we need to put the pause button on that to give Paul time to relay this to Maureen.
Okay. Someone let me just second
If discussion is finished, I'll second it.
Okay.
And then we'll do an all in favor when Paul's ready.
Okay.
Do you want to fill in why we're not including the shades, or is it because we already talked?
It's in the staff update.
Okay. If we talked about that in another meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the second grade field trips are tentatively set up right now. Superior Elementary is coming October 9th. And El Dorado pre-K through 8 second graders are coming
October or November?
Excuse me. It's October 9th and October 16th for the two schools. Superior, October 9th, El Dorado, October 16th. And they're coming in the morning. They're both arriving about 10:15 in the morning. They want to look at, we are doing just the town hall presentation by the mayor, we hope.
We have confirmation for the 9th, but not the 16th yet.
Okay, and then they want to go into Grasso Park, learn about Grasso Park, and then we're going to have a short discussion. We are not going into either museum because they won't be in a position to have people going through, we're moving stuff. But we can talk about the two museums, maybe show them some of the burned items. We could show them those burned items and the picture of Willie, the horse. We can talk more about what we might want to present for the museum portion of that. But it looks like they would have 3 stops and they want to be finished by 11:45 because they want to have a picnic lunch in the Grasso Park. So from 11:45 to 12:30, they will be eating lunch. The buses are coming back to get them at 12:30. So that's pretty much the schedule for both school. And I know that one of them is divided into 3 groups. I'm not sure about the other school, how many groups they have. I haven't heard back from her. She's waiting to hear back from me today about whether she can order up the bus or not. And that's the one for the 16th.
And both are on Wednesdays. So we would need support. The mayor would be inside. The mayor or trustee or somebody, clerk, town clerk, somebody would be inside town hall, but it's the 2 stops outside that y'all would need support.
Yeah, and we
People.
should all be available, I think, then. And Mary is not available on the 16th because she'll be out of town. So Larry,
2 dates were the 16th.
yeah,
And the 9th.
October 9th and 16th in the morning.
We don't need all of the commission. We just need
No, because
at
it
least,
doesn't take,
it just needs, we would just
Wally and I
need
are available. And
2
Larry is
people.
available, I believe, and Mary on the 9th.
2 or 3 people, one to escort.
Scott and Dalton, since you're working, I'm not sure.
Those are weekdays, right? Yeah. 9th and the 6th. Yeah, they're both Wednesdays. Yeah, it would really depend.
I think, yeah, we'll see. Okay, Paul?
I'm ready for the vote if you want to do it.
Okay, all right, so if you could bring, the motion has been seconded, so it just needs a vote at
Okay,
the time.
and all in favor of the money being spent for moving?
I
Say aye.
Maureen says aye.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Tell Maureen, thank you. Okay,
The motion passes.
okay, thank you. So I think what will need to happen, Karen, is since I'm not here, if an email could, somehow the arrangements can be made, you have the mayor's email address, but just getting one person situated to escort to town hall and back, and then your 2 other stops, whoever's gonna.
Yeah, and it should last about a half an hour.
Okay.
So there will be, I'm not sure how many groups are going to come through, whether it's going to be just 2 or 3 groups come
Okay.
through. No. Okay, we've got three from one school and maybe only 2 groups from the other. I'm not sure yet.
Before I contact the mayor, can you find that out for Eldo before? Because I don't know if he's
Yeah, I think we know for him. That's Superior Elementary.
right, but for Eldo, we need to confirm their schedule before I try to schedule the mayor for the 16th.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand your question.
It sounds like the time frame might be shorter for Eldo if they're only doing 2 rotations versus 3.
I'm not sure on that. I'll find out this afternoon.
Because I have to give him a time frame.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at most it's basically an hour and a half, probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
at most.
Okay. But so you're gonna handle the planning and the communications after this week?
With the mayor.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
I will do that. And I think Larry will help out when he gets back too.
Okay.
Because he initiated these field trips originally.
Sounds like the next item might have been covered in this larger conversation, but
On the History Colorado site visit?
Not for sure. She wants to come on October 4th.
Okay.
But Catherine wants to be there, and Catherine's out of town on the 4th. So I'm going to talk to Catherine this afternoon, and it depends upon how much she wants to be there. I think it would be helpful to have her there, but she's going to be out of town. She just said, could we have the site visit a little bit later? This is the site visit with.
Yeah, who's Catherine?
Catherine Barth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's historical architecture has been, from ground zero.
I've heard her before, I guess I have, yeah.
Yeah, she was the architect on the original Asti Museum.
I think it's a good idea to invite the engineers and planners to explain things there as well as they recommended, but I wouldn't change our schedule if they can't make it, right? Just offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we can have those people come out and then at a later date, we want to see if they can come back up again and get with the engineers and stuff.
Well, I think if they're standing there, they can explain how they're, envisioning it, right?
Yeah, this site visit is for the purpose of the potential to be on the National Register. That's the purpose of the site visit.
If you want it to be on the National Register, you can get it on the National Register. I don't really care what they say. Honestly, and if FEMA's involved there's some other things to consider there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's arguable, but this will definitely, the project one way or another is going to diminish the historic integrity of the site. Whether the state decides to delist it, that's entirely subjective and arguable of what they want to do.
And another thing, maybe we discussed this and I forgot, the people that have the mineral rights to the old mine site, can they hold up that even being, no, they can't.
No.
Okay.
They shouldn't be able to. And not for the National Register. That was the conversation. That was a county issue when we talked to Carol Bean. It was entirely a county issue. So the National Register issue, which it won't affect that. It won't affect it for the mine site either.
Okay, I'll try to let everybody know what the scheduling is for that.
But I think that regardless of what happens with this, what Daryl said about needing a preservation plan for the site is a good idea, right? And it'll
Yeah.
help avoid
Yeah,
and inform future planning. It doesn't really, know whether this goes on or not.
I think Gressel Park is a real gem.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, as is
One to say.
the industrial mine. But
I almost said that to Jason. It's like, well, the Grassos are important in Superior history. What for Lloyd Wright, not so much. But, yeah.
And Plato, did he come?
What? Because against including the Native American voice, and it's like, Native American is part of it. Anyway, moving on.
Where's Grasso Park fall as far as responsibility for committees? It's a park, so the other parks or doesn't change short that's under.
You know, that's an interesting question because it is technically one of the parks managed by Parks and Open Space, Leslie. But it is different in that it doesn't function or have reservability like the other parks. It does not have a public restroom. It's kind of a different being, isn't it?
People need to stay out of the outhouse,
Other than just peeking in to see what it is, they do have to stay out.
Yeah, we don't open those buildings, right? They're not.
We will when we're there, but we won't unless people have interest in it to begin with.
There has to be a sign up, do not use.
Out of order, just put that.
All right.
okay, Mary, once again, the next ANPRAM meeting is when?
November, probably the third Monday, she didn't say the date. And it's at the Museum of the Americas in the South Santa Fe. Name of the museum box.
Museum of the Americas and, okay.
On South Santa Fe Drive.
Okay. Okay.
Museo de las Americas?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, October 5th, the Grasso Museum Open Day.
I'm around.
This is assuming we haven't moved too many things out of there.
Well, that's, I guess, a good question.
Yeah.
Do you want to be open and do you want to use it as a work session?
That's only 2 weeks. Well, what's on it? Is it already published? Schedules?
It is, but we can change it on the town calendar to a
work session. But
when do you?
There's other opinions here too.
When will? And you don't know yet because you haven't contacted the movers, obviously. When will we get the big stuff moved in, and then we can start to do more? Until then, I think we're.
I mean, if I called them today or first thing Monday, it's likely that they could do it next week or the week after. They seem to turn pretty quickly.
Can we decide to do a working session, and if the move doesn't happen, we can open the doors, or do you need announcement planning for that as well?
It's usually the sooner the better on the calendar.
When are you officially leaving town?
So next Friday, a week from today, is my last day.
Oh, okay.
So I'm out the 30th, which is the Monday, through the 10th, and then I'm working from home on the 11th.
Oh, okay.
So not back in the office, but visible.
Okay.
Going through the millions of emails that I'm sure will pile up while I'm gone.
You're back, you're back, which day?
Back on the 11th.
The German will be here.
So, what do you think? Huh?
Yeah.
What do you think on your next open day?
The 5th, it sounds like, Karen, you're right. We should just consider a working day at this point? Is that what you're saying?
It's just a thought.
I think we should just consider that,
We've got a lot of work to do with moving smaller items too.
yeah.
It's all, and I guess my thought, and if, I know I'm not there on Saturdays, but whether the move happens or not, I think there's just so many little things
Yeah.
to tend to.
What about office stuff as well?
Right.
Well, until we get and until we've really moved into the basement, yes, and see if, will the shelving be up? Because if we just move little stuff and have them piled on the floor, that's that's not a sensible way to do it. But if the shelving could be put up, do the movers do that?
Well, my feeling is that, if we don't have the museum, either one of them or both of them, makes no difference.
Yeah.
Open this next one, the world's not gonna come to an end, because I think people have to understand where we're at, what we're trying to do, and just, and we may not know for sure if we'll even be open in November.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if we can be, we will be, of course, but I'm just saying, we don't know where we'll be at.
And when ASCII's set up, we could always do a special opening day for that too, that's not on our regular schedule.
Sure.
Yeah, the grand opening of ASTI will be a pretty exciting thing.
Is this just a decision? Does it need to be a vote? What do you think?
I make a motion that we, not have either museum open for the October, due to the move.
I second that.
Okay, we need to let Paul relay that information to Maureen, and wait for a all in favor vote.
We'll wait for a vote, when Paul is ready.
Yeah.
Paul, that's the
Okay. Working on it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
And then then obviously, and have it as a work session.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That was part of the motion, yes.
Yes, yeah.
So Paul, did you hear that?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so closure and work session.
And the work session would mainly be about moving things between the museums.
Right.
Yeah, and there are still, a couple decisions to be made.
Yeah.
One is the school desks. Do we want to leave the school desks in Grasso? Do we want to move them to that one room in ASTI?
Right, like leaving, because I don't know the outcome of your last work session, but, I think having the Marshall Fire exhibit at the bungalow, but then what's to come of those two other rooms?
No, we want to have the Marshall Fire exhibit at the ASTI.
Oh,
That's where we have it planned.
Yeah, the Lions Club stuff.
Yeah, that's where the
Yeah.
screen and everything has been.
so you're dedicating a room of ASTI to Marshall?
They're coming the front, because that's going to be all that money's been put into it, and ASTI is going to be the focus for the town. That'll be the new thing. So we figure as people come into the door to have that screen up right there in the corner of what was the living room.
The northeast corner of that front room.
So it's
Not the kitchen, but the front room.
And then
Northeast corner.
Gotcha.
And then the other items there as well. So.
I have an answer to the motion.
Okay.
We're in favor. We're in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So all in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye for
The
Maureen.
motion is approved.
Thank you.
Well, no motion carries.
Unanimous.
I will let communications know and I will get a work session in substitute.
Okay.
Okay.
And thank you. That'll be probably 10 o'clock. Is that in utility?
Yeah.
So, and not to get into the weeds with programming, but maybe part of that work session, you'll figure out then how bungalow will be programmed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. It sounds like, Maureen is gonna give that next update via email.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so we
What
can
I understood.
move on to staff updates. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So we did the first one at great length.
Was garage, pardon me.
Yeah, it was. So actually 1 and 2 are all the same. Sounds like.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry, just one. The Boulder County Industrial Mine Trail, Mary had asked about the status of that out at, on Boulder County. And I asked Leslie about it, and she said there is not a lot of progress because I think OSAC and Leslie and our grant writer are exploring grant opportunities to fund the path and the interpretive signage. So as of right now, there is no progress, but it's kind of on the back burner in the works. So it's not been forgotten.
Yeah, we've gone this long that we have to wait for the grants. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah. Because I think, as you all know, Boulder County was okay with it, but it had to be funded and managed by the town. And so I think that's the route that they decided to take, was a grant.
Which was always discussed.
Yeah, so I do want to mention that it was tentative, but I will make it confirmed that I made an appointment for the handyman to meet at ASTI to look at the potential of building the sink base on Tuesday at 2 p.m. If you would like to join.
Yes.
I will be there. Sean will be there because Sean has some ideas, but Sean would also be able to help with lifting the sink, lifting that heavy sink. She's taking pictures. So Sean's going to be there just as a consult and heavy lifter when the time comes, just so Steve, the handyman, has support. Okay, so that's Tuesday at 2 p.m. if you would like to go. The budget
Tuesday,
this coming Tuesday, yeah. I've got 5 million appointments next week, just trying to check things off before I go. So it could be, again, that I ask a commissioner or two just to help follow up with him so that stays in motion. I don't want it to pause while I'm gone. So if you all are there, it would be good for that meet and greet to happen so that he can continue the work and that you all can give him the green light if he comes up with a cost estimate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, the budget is on the back of your agenda. We've already kind of touched on it. If you have any questions, let me know. Maureen caught on that very first item on the top spreadsheet. There's a 2023. It should be a 2024. Is it 2024 now? Did I change it?
Mine says 2024.
The one I emailed out had a 2023 and she caught it. She's very good at editing. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think for October, November, December, I'll do budget reports monthly.
Okay.
So first, second, and third quarter, I just do one time, but for fourth quarter, I do monthly because you're spending down faster and we have to get to year end.
This actually, I just thought of something that goes back to our work session on October 5th, whatever it is. People, if you can find boxes to bring for packing, little things to go over. If while you're shopping, check
We get a lot of boxes here. Whatever gathers up in the next week, I'll just take over.
Do you know if we put boxes in the basement with paper in them when we undo all that ceramic stuff?
The bungalow? I thought we did.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, big boxes
We can bring those up then.
So as far as Asti Museum, there has been warranty work done to the basement doorknob and core lock because we've had issues with it. Part of the issues is because there are 3 keys to the museum, a back door, a front door, and a basement. The keys that I had made that are in the lockbox all have different looks to them in the hopes that people remember what key goes to what.
Yeah.
That said, Sean and superintendent and Leslie, a handful of people, all of the 3 keys look exactly the same. Unfortunately, the front and back door keys fit into the basement key. And if it's turned, that's what's been kind of almost damaging that core lock. But I also think that there was a defect to that core as well. Long story short, we've asked for multiple repairs. I don't foresee that it's going to change because of these 3 keys and potential mistakes. We're getting the lock replaced. Eventually, I want a locksmith to come in and just rekey to 1 key.
That's good. Yeah, I had no trouble. We went down there, we had no trouble getting in and it wasn't a problem. But I also switched, I didn't use the other key, the keys that I had already used, I didn't use down there.
Oh.
So has the bathroom lock been fixed then?
Not yet. So that doorknob is still on back order and it should be within the next week or 2. So those things are happening.
I thank you for getting the desk assembled down there. It looks great.
So the windows, I just did this. At no cost to you, but I had Sean help me get a protective film put on, UV protective film put on the windows. You can't even see it. It's already been done. You can't even tell it's there.
Okay.
But that way it'll protect those UV rays coming in. Okay. I also have ordered blinds. I went ahead, they're very similar to these. They're a little bit lighter in color, but they're very similar to these right here. So those will be coming soon.
Window shades.
Yes, window shades. That also is not an expense of yours. That's a town expense.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
An alarm has been installed, but it is not active. It's not on.
We figured out how to do it now.
And after a lot of back and forth, the keypad is in the basement. Thank you, Karen and Wally, for figuring that out. But there's also a unit outside the back door, and it's activated by a fob. And so, so what Sean is currently helping me and the alarm company figure out is if we get a fob onto the keychain in the lockbox, would that enable you just to fob that alarm off and on? We don't know yet, but that's what I'm hoping for.
I saw that thing on the wall.
Because I really don't want y'all running down the stairs.
The red light.
Buckle fobs usually just let you in and out once the alarm's on or off.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we have for the original Asti. It worked well.
For the alarm?
Yes, for the alarm. Should be on that key that's in our display case.
Oh.
The one that burned.
Yes.
It's on there.
Well, let's hope that we can repeat that so that you don't have to worry about getting to the basement. Okay.
Otherwise, you're racing to the basement.
Yeah, and that's not okay.
We've set that alarm off numerous times.
A bunch of us, our racing is no longer.
Especially the stairs, jeez.
So equipment set up, so the desk has been assembled. Sean put that together. Part of the move will mean bringing office chairs over so that you can sit at said desk. I will put in a request to get the heavy duty shelves assembled and the flat file, the map. So, I'll put in for that. I don't know when it'll happen, but I will put in for it. And I think I think that's it. Contracted work was just like the sink person and all of that. But just know that there's still a lot of comings and goings out of the space because of, blinds and locks and
Right.
all kinds of stuff. So just don't be surprised by a lot of that. I do want to say, so the minor memorial, I did talk to Matt, the superintendent.
On the Shell Assembly, if that's a lot of work, if they could even get one done, would be.
I'd rather have it done in one swoop.
Okay, I was thinking for
Yeah.
some places that, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to, let's just get this stuff done, right? So the minor memorial, I talked to our superintendent, because he has a contractor on the books anyway, who does a lot of the small concrete work around town. Both he and Leslie thought that he could handle the construction of that pedestal that we've looked at multiple times, the one that's like up in Golden. And so he's passing that drawing over to him, and I've not yet gotten any kind of bid back from him about the cost of that. But you had indicated the placement to be near the flagpole. And so kind of in between that coal cart and the flagpole, there's a really nice spot that we sort of identified along the path, and I think y'all are in agreement. So it's still underway. Just know that it's been passed along, but I haven't really heard anything back on it, but it is. And then Larry, from his distance in Italy, he did send that message to try to get the outhouse renovation going. They came out to look at it. They were hoping that the outhouse would be secured to the concrete before their restoration. But Superintendent Matt said that the wood has deteriorated too much along the base to put hardware onto it. Like it's not going to hold the hardware. Correct. There's so much deterioration. It would maybe make it worse. So he feels strongly that it needs to be restored more, and then we'll secure it to the concrete pad. They came out, my bad, just not on my radar, or Larry's or anyone, that there's a padlock on the outhouse to prevent people from going in. And they sent me an email yesterday saying, hey, we need an appointment so somebody can come unlock that. And I just quickly sent her the combination and said, feel free to just unlock it yourselves at your convenience.
See anything wrong with that?
Yeah, so I did that, and I haven't seen a response. So hopefully they get underway with that work. So if you see them out there, maybe stop and say hello.
For that to be painted and everything before cold weather.
That would be great.
Just speaking about locks, did you get my thing about the lockbox key and?
We had it, sorry.
It's back there.
Yeah, I think it's back. We just pull key, keys are moving. Okay, so then, Maureen's event that she's helping to plan the historical fall program, the geology presentation on the 3rd, that has been moved from town hall to the community center. I think you all saw that in email.
Yeah.
So what's happening is it'll be in the large room in the very back of the community center. I'm renting an AV service to bring in a 16-foot large screen because we were very reliant on that big screen at town hall. The only screen we have here is pretty small, and there's no way that people would be able to see. So it's not that much money, not out of your budget. We'll rent a large 16-foot screen with a projector, and they'll run it.
Okay.
We also have, because Nancy is going to be at town hall filming, one of her colleagues will be here to film the presentation. Okay. Nancy, that AV person, and myself and Leslie are gonna have a quick meeting this coming week just to go over all the details to make sure we're good to go. The front desk will be alerted to help support the setup. Leslie will be the staff, on deck since I won't be here. Okay?
And what time is that going to be?
7 o'clock.
So it's back to.
It's normal time, yep. I will buy the water ahead of time next week, but I'll instruct Leslie to get cookies if somebody here can help to platter them, because I know we usually have cookies and water at your presentations. So I'll just let her know of that too. Maureen wants an easel for the poster that she had printed up, so I'll have that set out for her as well, ready to go.
We may want to make sure we have 2 available if it's as big as we were discussing.
Absolutely, and I have to. So she's asked about it. I've talked to her about it over emails and have reassured her that we absolutely have an easel or 2, and they'll be ready to go in the room when people arrive. There is a room reservation up until 6 o'clock. They'll probably be cleaning up as we are kind of barging in to get set up. So there might be a little overlap of people leaving and us coming in, but it's the best we could do considering the short notice we had for the move from town hall to community center. Yeah, I think it'll be great.
They're welcome to line their chairs up and stay.
So, can I?
Yeah.
So, 2 things. One, she really needs to speak with you about Jeff's email right after this. So expect an email back and forth with her.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking maybe we could table the meeting that we were going to have today right after to Tuesday afternoon, and whether that would fit a schedule, or do you think the place would be booked?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check what's in that room. And I'll have to get back to her.
Okay.
And Jeff, all I need to email Jeff about is I'm gonna give him a cloud folder just to upload his presentation. That's all I'm gonna ask him.
Yeah. I think if you could just do a back and forth with her right afterwards.
Okay.
I'm not sure what her concern is, but it's probably exactly what you think it is. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm available, assuming I don't really get COVID, and she's available Tuesday afternoon. If it's open, she'd still like to come and peruse that as we talked about doing this afternoon.
Okay. And just know, Paul, if you could share with her, there really are not that many options for how the room gets set up. And we do so many events here that I'm going to just make a recommendation of how it's set up.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of room for discussion of how it gets set up to accommodate small or large groups of people, considering a screen, a projector, AV people, all of that. I think she needs to just trust that we do this a lot. And
well, maybe you could just reiterate that in this conversation. For some reason, she is concerned about Jeff's email, so she thought maybe if you guys could talk about that right after this meeting.
Happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay. I may copy you just so that if there's any need for clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any other questions with staff updates? No. Your turn.
We were going to invite Ben Ridgely to virtually attend one of our meetings. It was considered to be this meeting, but I did not provide that invitation when we found out we have less than all of our valued members here. So I will move that forward to invite him for the October meeting. And just a note, I will not be here for the November meeting.
Okay.
And I won't be here for the October meeting. It'll be at Chaco Canyon.
Oh, very nice.
Ooh, all right.
Look at you all. 12:07. Wow.
Yeah, Karen just, even with all the public, kept us running a lot faster than Larry. Nick's, you're efficient.
Hey, free, but blah, blah.
Okay.
Was there anything else? Anything, Bob, or anything from anyone else? Anything else, Paul, that,
No, like I said, just, we need to follow up because we were gonna meet at
Okay.
12:30 or whatever, so.
okay. I'll let you officially adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
I second it.
All right, so
I just cut you off before you could get to it.
all in favor? Yeah, all.
Aye.
Recording stopped.
Wow.
You made it.